Welcome aboard, Miss Owens.
I don't remember coming home.
Rebecca.
I want this to stop.
The story begins at Riverfield's Mortuary, where Raymond supervises an embalming procedure while recording a formal report. The body of Emily Sawyer lies on the table as intern Rebecca Owens carries out the process under his guidance. Raymond assures Rebecca that she is doing well and continues observing her work. As she turns away to retrieve an instrument, he briefly notices the body's toe twitch, though he does not react immediately. Sensing his gaze, Rebecca asks if something is wrong. Calmly, he tells her everything is fine and encourages her to continue. After some time, the procedure is completed. Raymond records the final note and commends Rebecca for her work. Rebecca then transfers the body into storage before returning to clean the preparation room. While going through the checklist, she notices that the embalming fluid is running low. She heads toward the basement storage area to retrieve more, but Raymond suddenly appears and questions her presence there. After she explains, he acknowledges her attentiveness but firmly instructs her not to go downstairs, stating that extra supplies are kept in the front closet and that there is no reason to enter the basement. Later, Raymond remarks that there is no real celebration for achievements in this line of work, though he casually mentions the idea of a toast. Rebecca politely declines, explaining that she does not drink. She then asks if she will be working alone, and Raymond confirms that she will be handling most of the duties while he manages the business side. He goes on to explain that the working hours are fairly consistent, mostly during the day, while he takes care of the night shifts. Rebecca offers to handle night duty as well, but he declines, saying he does not want to overwork her and advises her to get proper rest before her shifts. He then welcomes her aboard, marking the end of her first day. Later, Rebecca attends a support group meeting where she shares her experience. She reflects on reaching 1 year, admitting that she never imagined she would make it this far. She speaks about her past struggles and how she once went through life in a way that hurt both herself and the people who tried to help her. The organizer, Kelly, acknowledges her progress and presents her with a 1-year chip, marking her achievement. After the meeting, Rebecca meets her grandmother and thanks her for coming. Her grandmother expresses how proud she is of her, especially knowing how far she has come after the loss of her father. Before leaving, Kelly approaches Rebecca and mentions that she had been worried about her, as she was the last to receive her 1-year chip. She encourages Rebecca to reach out if she ever feels like she might relapse, and also congratulates her on completing her internship. Later, while driving home, Rebecca receives a call from Raymond. He informs her that several bodies have been transferred from the city morgue and asks her to return to the mortuary, as he will not be there to handle them. Rebecca agrees, confident in the training she has received. As a storm rages and thunder echoes, she arrives at the mortuary and begins working alone. She reviews the instructions, which include both embalming and cremation, and pauses, wondering why she's expected to handle the cremation. She retrieves the first body from storage and places it in the preparation room. She puts on some music and begins examining the body, where she notices a fresh cut and briefly wonders about its cause. She continues with the embalming process and records the necessary details. At one point, the body subtly moves, turning its head and opening its eyes, but Rebecca remains unaware and proceeds with cremation. Shortly after, she notices that her car door is open and steps outside to close it. As she returns, faint whispers begin to surround her, leaving her disoriented. Overwhelmed, she holds her head until the ringing of the phone snaps her back to reality. Raymond is on the line, checking if everything is all right. She assures him that she is fine, explaining that the storm is causing the lights to flicker, but everything remains manageable. He reminds her to call if she has any questions. Rebecca resumes her work and prepares another body. As she moves it toward cremation, the power suddenly goes out. With her phone battery nearly drained, she searches for another light source and uses paper to create a small flame. As she continues handling the body, it seems to shift beneath the covering, though she does not notice anything unusual and proceeds with the cremation. While examining the next body, she notices another fresh wound. Suddenly, she hears knocking and goes to check, but the sound stops abruptly. She dismisses it and returns, only to find that the body is no longer there, leaving her confused. The phone suddenly rings. When she answers, a voice accuses her, saying that everything is her fault. Startled, she ends the call. As she stands there unsettled, she suddenly notices blood on her hand. Alarmed, she pulls back her sleeve. Just as quickly, everything fades, and it returns to normal as if nothing had happened. The phone rings again, This time, she hears her father's voice on an emergency call reporting that his daughter, who struggles with addiction, has gone missing after going to the lake and not returning home. Rebecca reacts immediately, recognizing the moment and calling out to him, but the line cuts off. Her past begins to surface, slowly blending with the present until she can no longer separate the two. Disoriented, everything around her fades. Rebecca suddenly wakes up in her home. A knock comes at the door. It is Kelly. She calls out to Rebecca, telling her she's there to help. Rebecca hesitates and refuses to talk at first. After a moment, Rebecca finally opens the door. Kelly studies Rebecca and assumes she may have used drugs. Rebecca says she doesn't remember how she got home. Kelly then asks if she also doesn't remember calling her earlier. Kelly suggests starting fresh, like day one, with coffee and new meetings. While she prepares the coffee, Rebecca denies taking any drugs. Kelly reassures her, explaining that she recognizes the signs of drug use and that acknowledgement is the first step toward recovery. She then comforts Rebecca with a hug, but the embrace tightens. Kelly struggles to pull away and suddenly realizes something is wrong. Rebecca is no longer acting like herself, almost as if she's possessed. In an instant, she attacks Kelly. A violent struggle breaks out as Kelly tries to defend herself, reaching for a wine opener in desperation. But Rebecca overpowers her and strikes her down, leaving Kelly lifeless on the floor. Moments later, Rebecca comes back to reality, horrified by what she has done. She immediately contacts Raymond and tells him she has done something terrible. Raymond asks where she is. When she says she is at home, he instructs her to return to the mortuary, insisting it is the safest place. Rebecca begins to suspect that Raymond knew more than he revealed and questions why he left her alone. Raymond says he needed to be sure of what was happening and promises to explain everything when they meet. Rebecca, however, no longer trusts him. Suddenly, Kelly's body begins to move. Terrified, Rebecca rushes to the door, only to find Kelly standing there, alive and completely unharmed. Overwhelmed with fear, she gets into her car and drives straight to the mortuary. At the mortuary, Raymond explains that the entity does not take control in a direct way. Instead, it feeds on a person's fears, doubts, memories, and guilt, slowly weakening the mind until it can gain influence. Rebecca asks why this is happening to her. Raymond explains that the entity can inhabit the dead, using them as temporary anchors in the world, but its true goal is to find a living host strong enough for full possession. Confused, Rebecca asks what that means for her. Raymond tells her that the entity found a weakness in her and used it to reach her. He explains that in most cases, possession fails before it fully develops, but in her case, it didn't. He apologizes, saying it has already bound itself to her. Rebecca asks what they are supposed to do. Raymond says it takes him years to understand this, but she must face it alone, as he cannot help her directly anymore. He explains that time runs out, and once the bond completes, there is no way back. Raymond explains that to banish the entity, they must send it back to hell, but that requires knowing its true name. He begins showing her symbols that help trace its place in hell. Rebecca asks how she is supposed to know any of this. Raymond realizes she is new to it and tells her he will guide her step by step. Suddenly, Rebecca is overtaken again by the entity and attacks Raymond violently. In response, Raymond reveals protective symbols tattooed on his body, using them to repel the force. He manages to escape, leaving Rebecca trapped inside. Rebecca calls out to him, but he is already gone. The atmosphere shifts as something unseen begins closing in on her. She tries to find a way out, but every exit is locked. Desperate, she notices Raymond's notes on the desk and goes through them, searching for answers. As she does, she begins hearing her name being called. She moves toward the sound and sees a figure outside the window, her grandmother calling her. But the voice distorts, turning unsettling and accusatory, saying she has disappointed them. The presence intensifies, repeating, "Let me in." She turns around and sees her father. He suddenly turns hostile and attacks her in a terrifying surge. Then everything breaks. She snaps back to reality and realizes she has been attacking herself during the episode, leaving a deep cut on her leg. Rebecca moves carefully into the preparation room, trying not to make any noise. She passes the body on the table and quickly grabs surgical tools, then treats her own wound in silence. As she approaches the body and tries to cut it with a knife, it suddenly reacts and fights back. Rebecca struggles and manages to restrain it using a wire, tying it to the stretcher. Then the phone rings. Raymond is on the line, telling her to follow his instructions exactly. He says that once she chooses the body, she must cut her wrist to offer blood. Rebecca asks why it must be her blood. Raymond explains it is required and tells her to burn the body once it is done. Rebecca follows exactly what Raymond told her and finally burns the body, but it does not work. The moment distorts and she loses herself again. Yet she manages to pull back, telling herself none of it is real. After that, she calls Raymond and tells him it did not work, that she did exactly what he said. Raymond tells her this is the first time they are speaking since he left the mortuary and that he has been trying to reach her. Rebecca insists that she already spoke to him. That is when Raymond realizes it was the entity. He quickly tells her to go to the downstairs storage room, find the tapes, and follow exactly what they say. Then the call ends. Rebecca searches for the tape and plays it. In the recording, Raymond explains that to learn the entity's name, she must burn the letting strips to reveal the sigils, mark them, and place them on the body. The ritual must be completed using a reagent, blood from the possessed, to seal the entity, or it will escape before the burning. The video shows a woman named Valerie tied to a wooden box. Raymond explains that he uses her blood as the reagent because she is possessed, apologizing as he says it is the only way to contain it. Rebecca goes through the notes and begins searching for the sigils around the building. She finds the first sigil and places it on the mark. After that, the distortions begin to take hold, warping reality around her. She struggles through it, manages to find the second sigil, and places it on the mark. The interference grows stronger, but she pushes on and finds the third sigil as well, placing it on the mark. The final sigil is in the bathroom. She finds it, but then the moment distorts and she loses herself again. The bathroom locks, and the room fills with water. She tries to escape but falls and hits her head. The scene shifts to the lake, where young Rebecca is unconscious while her father tries to help her. Then she snaps back. She has placed all 4 sigils on the mark successfully. She goes to grab the reagent and sees Valerie still there. She promises her that she will come back for her, then takes the reagent. She chooses the body with the mark on its chest and takes it to the prep room. The body starts growling. She carefully places the mark on the body and carries out the remaining process to seal the entity using the reagent. A burned sigil mark appears on the head, and she then burns the body. Relieved, she goes to the basement and sees the demonic figure. She thought it was finally over, but the voices behind her told her otherwise, pushing her downstairs. Then Rebecca is taken back to the past, where young Rebecca sees her father lying on the ground, lifeless. She then wakes up, seeing her father again. This time he consoles her, but Rebecca still feels guilty because her father died during the rescue, and she believes it was her fault. That memory continues to haunt her. Her father tells her to forget it, saying that reliving that day again and again will only deepen the pain. He does not want the memory to become her suffering, and he finally asks her to let go and let the dead rest. She wakes up as everything fades. She hears Valerie crying for help and goes to her. She unlocks the room and Valerie hugs her, but suddenly she is calling her stupid in a distorted voice. She then turns violent and attacks Rebecca. At that moment, Raymond intervenes. Using the mark on his body, he subdues Valerie and secures her back inside the wooden box. Upstairs, Raymond explains that Valerie was the possessed one. He used her blood as reagent to prevent the demonic presence from escaping. Rebecca asks if he is going to do the same to her, use her blood. Raymond calmly says no. He explains that Valerie has been dead for a long time, but without her, there would be no reagent. He says that sometimes one horrible act is necessary to prevent something worse. He asks Rebecca to join him, saying he has been trying for years to find a way to reverse this. Together, they might be able to work on it. Rebecca refuses, but Raymond tells her to stay and learn from him, saying she is safe now. Once she leaves the house of hell, it will find her again. He says it is better to understand the darker side, because the more they know it, the less it can be used against them. Rebecca leaves outside and sees children playing. Then she sees the demon. Raymond's voice echoes in her mind. She turns and goes back to the mortuary.